Great Scott! What are you doing here? What? What? Oh, this is a talk show. Are you the host? I guess I am. Okay. I'm Doc Brown. Welcome to Carnival Cosplay. And today's guest is someone I became acquainted with because of Over 40 Cosplay, which I've been on several times. And this is, I don't know what your first name is.
My first name is Ana.
Ana.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do Princess Anna?
Actually, yes, I do.
Okay.
Two versions.
Oh, well, this is Einstein is glad to see you, but Einstein's going to go away now, so I have two hands. There goes the glasses, but I don't need them. Okay. Welcome to the show. I've been following you for a little bit while and Over 40 Cosplay for a while. Been nice enough to be featured on that several times, and you seem to be incredibly organized at sending things out when someone hasn't been on for a few months, and that your time is due again to be featured again. And you're much more organized than I can, or seem to be organized than I can handle.
It's a bit of a little bit OCD. I need to know where everything is. If I'm not organized, I'm very distracted and I can't deal with that. So I over-organize rather than under-organize.
Just following your Instagram stream and some of the events you're doing and other things you're doing, how much of your life is dedicated to running around cosplay?
Oh, wow. Well, if you can look behind me, all those tubs are cosplays.
A life and a half. Between that and the cosplay over 40 and the other things you do. How many events do you go to a year?
Well, gosh. Before pandemic, we used to go to about 5 or 6. Last year, we went to our first one in 2 years, and we're hoping to hit maybe 5 or 6 again this year, depending on how the State of the Union is.
With my live shows, which is how I got into cosplay, I was doing about 14 Comic-Cons a year before, and I'm talking anywhere between 6 to 4 shows a weekend of 1 hour live theater, and also cosplaying in between because I'm stupid and can't just sit someplace. I would actually wear like 12. If I did 1 or 2, 3 different shows, and I also walked around, in some cases I did 12 cosplays in a weekend. Which is way too many and really shows you my level of insanity.
I've been there.
Did I do that much? Okay, I got your name. There's your name. Hi. Okay. So we start out with this at the beginning of every episode, so we might as well start out with it now. How did you start? What's your origin story in the cosplay?
Well, I guess my real origin is that my birthday is Halloween, so I'm naturally into getting into costume. In high school, a couple of friends of mine, we decided to hit this event that was going on in New York City. It was a Star Trek event, and we went to a store called Two Guys, which no longer exists anymore. We bought cheap T-shirts. We took markers and we colored in black necks, and we drew little emblems on them, and we made our own the original series shirts, and we headed up to New York for the cosplay contest. Well, it wasn't really even called cosplay back then. It was just being a Star Trek geek. But I guess that was really
yeah,
Star Trek nerd. Still am. But I mean, it wasn't called costuming or cosplay. It was, it was just something that we really wanted to do. That was way back in high school. And I guess I really got into it again, in 2002 for some reason. I don't know why that year, but I started cosplaying. My first official cosplay is a character named Ranma Saotome from Ranma 1/2, which is an anime show. And from there, it just grew and grew and grew, and now I have more than 150 cosplays.
Do you have more than Cindy, who was a guest?
Yes.
The two.
In fact, during this last hour, she was coaching me on which cosplay to wear.
I think you two should have a cosplay out to see who has the most cosplays, because she's been the person with the most cosplays up to date before this episode. But you're saying you were more than you were the new champion of number of cosplays.
Now
Excuse me,
she has
I came
far
through the
more.
screen there for a second.
Yeah, no, she's got far more Harry Potter cosplays than I could ever
Oh,
make,
she's
but
done more Harry Potter cosplays than Warner Brothers.
possibly. But yeah, no, I topped 152 last year, and I've
Wow,
got
that's a lot.
about 54 planned right now. So,
Oh, and I bet you actually plan them because you seem like the organized type of person that would have files and things and
oh yes, spreadsheets
schedules
and
and
whiteboard.
no. I see something like, oh, maybe I should get that. Okay, I'll quickly source the different pieces and I'll do it in a day or two. I don't really have planning too much. Uh,
Well, sometimes I plan. I mean, there's some cosplays I've been planning for years that are slowly coming together. And well, another cosplay, for example, I had a dream a few weeks ago that Cindy and I and another of our friends, Carrie, were cosplaying as the Powerpuff Girls. So when I woke up, I messaged them. I was like, "Hey, what do you think about doing the Powerpuff Girls?" And well, my cosplay arrived last week, so we're waiting to see how that goes.
it took me years to get this shirt because they weren't making it anywhere. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
one of the extra shirts he wore in the movie, I just wore an Hawaiian shirt. But they get the actual train shirt, train and it took forever. So I finally found it about a year and a half. I got one just as COVID started, so I couldn't actually wear it anyway. Um,
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why Instagram's good, so you can post pictures.
yes. Did you ever been to the Star Trek set tour in upstate New York?
No, unfortunately, not really. Um, I have a very different type of relationship with Star Trek, to be honest.
They have
Um,
the original. They literally have the whole original set there
wow.
from the
Okay.
original series. It's upstate New York.
Hmm.
It's about 3.5 hours for me, and I went one day. I was bored and drove there and back in one day. I wouldn't
Really?
suggest
Oh,
doing that,
good.
but they literally have the. They literally have. I think they're having Chekhov and Sulu there this weekend. The actual
Oh,
act.
wow.
Shatner's been there a few times, and he gives a talk to about
Mhm.
100 people while he's sitting in the chair on the bridge. Of course, they want $1,000 for that, but
Oh, well.
that comes with a few other things you get for that. But I paid the $20 and went through. And as a fan of the original series, it's an amazing place. The Star Trek original set tour, they're actually licensed from Paramount, and I think they're working on the bridge of the second generation of the next generation now.
Cool.
But in case you ever have a day or so that you have nothing to do, I don't have a Star Trek cosplay. Some of my friends do and want to go there because that's obviously a great place to go if you have a Star Trek cosplay
And
because it's just so many picture opportunities.
what city is it?
Oh,
'Cause I used to live in Syracuse, and if it was near me, I'm going to be really upset with myself.
no, it's more over the line.
Okay.
The problem is that this character doesn't wear glasses. So, excuse me for a second. Doc Brown's getting old.
No, no worries.
So
I
I can
understand the
actually
whole eyesight
see.
thing.
So I can actually see. Um, I think I went for Vermont.
Oh, okay. Okay. So towards the Burlington
Get
border.
there. Ticonderoga.
Okay. All right. Okay. I feel better now because if
There's
I'd
a
been in
fort there as
Syracuse.
well. Fort Ticonderoga is there. I forgot they went there when I was a child with my parents. Um, and I wouldn't mind going again. I'm not going to do it in one day though, because it's too many hours of driving in one day. I
Yeah.
say that, but I just did 5 the other day, so 7 is probably still doable. Um, what are you wearing today?
Ah. This is Majestia from a show called Miraculous. And it just arrived this morning, and so I had to like decide, do I wear it? Do I wear it? And I said, okay, fine, I'll wear it. But I had
What
to
type of
coach it.
show is it anime or something else?
Um, well, that's a very big debate amongst anime followers because it's a show made in France. So it's French anime, but Franime?
Anime, okay. I'm not the biggest anime person, even though I've covered several anime events recently. And I do have a tuxedo mask cosplay
Okay.
now. I made one out of my cosplay. All we needed was a mask for $1 at a party store, and I've got a tuxedo mask costume that I've not really gone anywhere with yet, but I might. If I decide to go to Anime Boston, I'll be wearing that if I go. If I go to film it. Um,
Okay.
um, so where are you in the scheme of things? You seem to be multiple different subjects according to the pictures you sent me. Um,
Oof. Well, uh, gosh, I mean, I do a lot of anime.
for
I do a
example,
lot of
Supergirl.
comic books. Yes, I do Supergirl. I do a lot of superheroes. I do a lot of villains. Um, gosh, pretty much anything that appeals to me, I will do it.
What do you like better, villains or good people?
Oh gosh. I'm tending to start doing a lot more villains lately.
Oh,
Um,
villains are so much more fun.
they have a lot more fun. They're not as rigid and stuck with rules. Although I do a lot of Wonder Women and Supergirls and well, Majestia. So
Yeah. I do maybe three villains, very distinct niche villains. One in the wrestling world, one in the Doctor Who world, and one in the Westworld
okay.
uh, world. And Westworld seems to be a really niche one for people to understand that. But in a Doctor Who convention, I wear my Lord of Rassilon that's been on over 40 cosplay, and I'm like a god at a Doctor Who convention wearing
Oh
that,
yeah.
even though people think I'm Stephen Strange, who are not Doctor Who enabled. No. Uh, and my pallbearer at wrestling shows, again, I am like an evil god at wrestling shows when I do pallbearer with the makeup and the urn and the
Hmm.
everything. And he has a very, oh, yes. It's a very weird voice. And I find myself acting totally out of character for me.
Now
And
people.
I tend to somehow become the villain.
Oh yeah. Well, when you're in the costume, people expect you to cosplay the character instead of just being, "Hi, I'm Anna in a costume." They expect you to be the character. So
Oh, yes. I went to a wrestling convention as a dare, and I went as pallbearer, and seven people stopped me in the parking lot and asked for pictures. And then inside, it must have taken 150, 200 pictures with people, including professional wrestlers,
awesome.
because the character died. The guy died like 12 years ago, and he was a fan favorite and industry favorite. So I just went as a lark, and suddenly the promoter asked me to be a guest, and I suddenly had a third or fourth career doing wrestling conventions.
No, that's
Uh,
awesome. See, you,
it's just amazing because I went into cosplay because my daughter wanted to go to Boston Comic Con. I said, "Okay, I'll take you." I've never been, and it wasn't that long ago. It was maybe 2015,
okay. How old are you
and
now?
I had a black suit because so I went as an agent of, and mirror sunglasses. So I went as an agent of Shield, went as Clark Colson basically,
Mhm.
and I walked around the place. My daughter hated the people. My daughter doesn't like people, and there was too many people to go there. And I walked around and said, I should come on a retirement as a comic magician and do a pop culture comedy show featuring a lot of pop culture characters. And I actually did that 2 months later. I debuted the show, bought the equipment. I'd been retired like 14 years at that point. My ex-wife was not into it remotely, and so I was retired. And then I started performing. I started doing cosplay when I was had free moments, and I still went to cons that I didn't play, and went as different characters. And I don't know, I've got about 35, 40 at this point. It's I was an instructor for years, and I loved the instant feedback. You used to get feedback occasionally as an instructor for 20 years,
Mhm.
and I think you can get instant feedback as a character doing cosplay. And I do like that and the interacting with people because I always interact with people in character.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
That's part of the fun.
That's one of my favorite parts about it is when people come up to you and talk to you it like you're the character and want to be with you.
Yes,
It's validation
yes.
that you're doing it right.
Though I once had a comment once from a woman at a con after party that said, "I don't know who you are, but you're doing it very well," which I thought was a good comment. And you really have to know. You really have to know the pop culture subjects to do what I do,
Mm-hmm.
because people that go to Comic Con conventions will stand up and shout you're doing it wrong in the middle of my act.
Great.
They really will. It's like they're like what's his face from The Big Bang Theory, the anal retentive one, Sheldon.
Sheldon.
It's like Sheldon. That character was a character, but it's like you get a few Sheldons in every comic convention
Mm-hmm.
that will stand up and say, "That's not the right reference. You're doing it wrong," or that. And so I try to do it. Try to be accurate in everything I do. For that reason,
Mm-hmm.
do you take advantages with some costumes to make it look better, or do you go for screen used?
I try to make my characters as canon as possible. So I will research the characters and make sure I've got the makeup right. I've got the everything correct, the way the hair is parted, the way the hair falls across the face, the stances. I try to do it as faithfully as possible to the character. But I also have cosplays that are based on a character. Like, for example, Poison Ivy. Um, there's the classic Poison Ivy in the green leaf suit, and then I've got her as Dr. Pamela Isley in her lab coat, again, based on a bunch of pictures from comic books. But then I've done Autumn Ivy, and I've done 70s Ivy, and 60s Ivy, and I just did 20s Ivy, and I'm working on 50s Ivy, and I'm working on 80s Ivy. And they're all based loosely on regular Poison Ivy. So those are more up to me, but I try to remain as faithful as I can to the character.
That's a lot of Ivy.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Uh,
Ivy.
that's a lot of Ivy. I try to do realistically as much as I can do, but some cases I've actually done what I think the character will do, or something that's true to the character. It may not be canon, but if it's true what I think to the character, I'll occasionally do that
All
too.
right. Absolutely.
Uh,
Especially when you're in a
okay.
Comic Con and people are watching you and are like, well, Wonder Woman would never eat a hot dog or something like
Of
that.
course she would. An American pie for dessert. I mean, apple pie for dessert. Uh, the You've got a partner that cosplays too.
I'm sorry?
You have a partner that cosplays too, I
A
believe.
partner? Well, when I can, I drag my husband into things.
Yes.
Doesn't often work out because he's a photographer. He prefers to be behind the camera instead of in front of the camera. But he's got a few cosplays that I've teamed up with him for. Um,
Reluctant cosplayer.
my husband?
Yes.
Uh, he only started cosplaying when I made him cosplay.
But if a photographer, then he has lots to shoot at with you having so many
Oh
cosplays
yes,
and cost.
oh yes, and he knows that
That
he
helps having an in-house photographer. Uh, I think helps.
absolutely, and he knows that I've got a long list of cosplays that still need to be shot. So, gosh, at least about 30 from the looks of my board.
She's got a board. I may put a few notes and notepad in my Mac, but that's about it. The What's your favorite meaning of celebrity and cosplay story?
Ah, a couple of years ago, before the pandemic hit, I went to the Grand Rapids Comic Con here in Michigan. And the big draw for that con that year was that a lot of the voice actors from Ruby, which is a American anime, I guess you'd call it.
I know enough people that do Ruby
Yes,
cosplays.
well, most of the well, not most, but a good bunch of the voice actors were going to be there, and so I dressed as Salem, which is the main antagonist in the show. And for the two of the voice actors that do the man that I was married to and who he's become over the years. I got a lot of fun. We pretended that they'd let me choke them out, and we took all sorts of goofy pictures, which was a blast. And then one of them told me that the other one thought that Salem was hot. So I kind of went up and I said, "Hey, so yeah, we want to go out, Sailor?" And it was just such a great time. And then later on, another of the voice actors who hadn't been there, she ran up to me and she's like, "Oh, can I get a picture with you? Oh my God, I love you. I'm Samantha Ireland." I'm like, "I know who you are. You want a picture of me? Wow, I am so honored." So yeah, that was my main celebrity interaction that still stands out in my mind. Oh, but oh gosh, I totally forgot this past year. um, Also, again at Grand Rapids Comic Con, I went as Ken Kaneki from Tokyo Ghoul, and I was tortured Ken. So I had the ripped, tortured shirt, and I had manacles on my hands, and my legs were in shackles, and I was carrying a pail because in the scene of one of the episodes, which is called Ghoul from the first season, he has his toes and fingers repeatedly ripped off and put in a pail. So I had a pail.
Sounds like a tough costume to walk
Hmm?
around in. Sounds like a tough costume to
I'm
walk
sorry.
around in. It's whoops. Sounds like a tough costume to walk around in.
Well, it hurt my ankles after a while, but authenticity. So I had the pail of fingers, and I went up to the voice actor and I asked him, "Would you like one of my fingers?" And I had butterfingers underneath underneath all the real fingers, and he's like, "Ah!" So we had fun with that. We took lots of pictures with him too. So I really enjoy
That
meeting the
sounds fun.
celebrities, especially when they get into the fans that are cosplaying their characters or characters from the show. It's lots of fun.
Yeah, I had a Doctor Who, Sylvester McCoy, who was the seventh Doctor,
Hmm.
who's now grandpa in the new Adam's Family movie or
Oh,
Munsters movie. He's going to be in that as grandpa, the one that Rob Zombie's doing right
okay.
now. I don't remember if it's Munsters or Adam's Family,
Hmm.
but he was in Lord of the Rings as one of the wizards, the animal wizard that liked
Oh, okay.
animals. So he was at both Doctor Who cons that I actually performed at, and he kept running around hiding from me because I was dressed as his uh, evil guy that he had a lifelong hatred of, and he kept playing it. And the night before, I was doing a dinner. I performed as Doc Brown, and he responded to me as two wayward time
Ah,
travelers.
great.
Uh, but it was fun. Um, I have a friend who does the guy from Up.
Okay.
Is it Carl? Who's had just a host of celebrities ask for pictures with him, and he's got the book, and he's got the balloons, and Cosplay Dad, and he also does Mermaid Man, and he's got so many. He's like the dean of cosplayers in New England. He's been doing it since the
Wow.
'60s, or maybe '70s. But he was doing it when comic conventions were one room with a bunch of people with comic books and boxes.
Mm.
Uh, and it's always great when you do that. I got to meet John Barrowman last year, dressed as Captain Jack
Oh, fun.
Harkness. So that was nice. He was very nice. Um, and that's always fun when you can go meet him dressed as his character. What's your favorite cosplay?
Oof. Uh, it's very hard to pinpoint. Uh,
When you have 475 million, it might be
yeah,
that way.
I I have. I mean, I was able to narrow it down to four favorite characters, of which I do multiple different cosplays of them. I love Hermione Granger.
Okay.
Um, she's
Okay.
very comfortable to wear and um, instantly recognizable. And a lot of people have come up to me and just told me I look just like the character. I really love that character. And so that's definitely one of my favorite cosplays. Wonder Woman, definitely. She meant a lot to me as a little kid. I used to watch Super Friends. I used to watch Linda Carter on TV. And
Well, is that really Wonder Woman, or is
that is Bombshell Wonder
that is
Woman. It's from the DC
okay?
Bombshells comic.
Okay.
Um, She Hulk is also a favorite of mine. Um, Again, I just love that comic.
Do I have that? I don't have that, do
I
I?
don't know. I don't know if you do or not, but yeah, She-Hulk. There you go.
Yeah.
Um, Loved her when she first came out in the '80s, and she's just such a fun character to play, both as the pumped up Green Hulk and as the nerdy little attorney. Both of them are fun.
Did you get a short person to be in that picture of you so you seemed really, really
Oh, they're both
huge?
me.
Oh, okay. So, okay. So we make it look like,
The magic of
uh,
Photoshop.
yes.
And then Bulma Briefs from Dragon Ball. It's, I guess, my main cosplay because I've got 38 versions of her.
Oh my
So she's my
God.
main girl.
You didn't send me that one, I don't
Um,
think.
to be honest, I sent you so many, I really don't remember if I did or not. Uh, oh, there's her father.
Who is who is this, by the way? I've seen
That
this
is
somewhere.
Dr. Briefs from Dragon Ball. He's Bulma's father.
Oh, okay. That's an interesting
Yeah,
mustache.
well, I've upgraded the mustache since then. But that's a really popular cosplay when I wear it to a con because no one ever cosplays Dr. Briefs, and they're like, ah, and then they find out I'm a woman, and they're like, ah.
The what is the hardest cosplay?
Oof, wow. The hardest to prepare for is definitely She-Hulk because it takes more than 3 hours to get the paint on. Um,
Yeah.
I would say that's pretty much
Is that the
the
hardest
one.
one to That's the hardest one to recover from as
Um,
well?
Whew, the hardest one to recover from is probably um, hmm, anything that involves really
No,
high heels.
I was just thinking She-Hulk. Do you do a lot of green body
Oh
paint with
yes,
that,
oh
or is
yes,
the
oh
suit?
yes. It's
Okay.
all over me. In fact, I've got 4 more She-Hulks that I need to photograph, and I told my husband that I am going to just do it all in one shot, so I don't have to keep body painting for the same character over and over again. So we're just waiting for a window for that one.
Yeah, I just do one with my face having multiple things of makeup on it, and then that is tremendously. I've actually made the mistake of wearing that the first one at a con, so I'm actually cleaning my face off and everything in a car, and and then went to dark brown after I did that, and I think I still had white and black
Especially in
and
the
stuff.
ears.
Yeah, the ears. Well, there's a show here in this one, so that was fine. I wore two wigs the next one day, but um, not doing make. I never doing makeup in my life, or having a person with me that knew makeup. It was kind of interesting to do a character with a face for
It,
makeup.
it's an
Uh,
adjustment.
it's I'm getting better at it, and I've got some waterproof makeup recently that I'm going to try soon because Paul has not been on the show yet. Because it takes me like an hour or so to do his face and the
Mhm.
sealer and all the things. But still, after a few hours, I was at Terrificon last year at Connecticut, and I did it for about 2.5 hours before I just melted in the
Yeah,
heat.
that's a problem.
Lines running down my face. I looked like a zombie version of the character.
And that's why She-Hulk is definitely my most difficult one because it's not only the
Yeah,
body paint, but the fact that her outfits are really skimpy. So I'd want to wear her in warmer weather, but then the face paint and the body paint reacts to the heat. But if I wear her during the winter when it's colder and the paint doesn't run off, then I'm freezing to death in her outfit.
yeah. I've ruined several dress shirts with black and white,
Yeah, the dry clean just
black, white,
shakes
and
its head.
brown makeup, face makeup, and that's never fun. Did I read? Did you have a YouTube channel now?
Yes, I just started it a couple of weeks ago. That's
Congratulations.
Thanks. I mean, people have been telling me that I should for years and years and years. And well, let's just say the husband finally pushed me to do it. So I did it.
How's the learning experience in that? I've been 9 months into this, and my learning experience is different. This is the second actual channel I've done. This channel was something completely different for 3 or 4 months before it was Carnival of Horror. It was a Elvira type of show
Okay.
that we hosted old horror movies, The Countess and Igor.
Okay.
I was Igor. I was a reanimated corpse that was her butler of a weird countess, and we were hosting old movies, and
Fun.
then we had comedy stuff. We had 50, 60 movies on here before she kind of flaked out and left the projects.
Oh. Oh.
So I had a YouTube channel. I didn't have any content, any new content. So I put magic on that because I had many years of magic videos. And then I came up with this idea.
Well,
And I wanted 3 or 4 different people to host it. And I couldn't find anybody to host it. So guess who became the host? But I mean, I've got, just say this is episode 9. And let's say it's about 3 months. And I've got about 1,600 hours of viewing so far.
Well, that's good.
In 3 months. Lacking on subscribers, but we're having a contest. You can win $100 by subscribing. I'm probably gonna reach the viewing hours way before I reach the subscribers, unless I up the ante to offer more than $100 as a prize to win at 100, 200, 300, 400 viewers. But it's a learning curve, learning the applications to do a good screenshot for the video rather than have it choose automatically.
Right.
I've got into that game now that I now have custom screenshots on every, for example, in this episode, it would be a picture of us like this.
Okay.
And next to it would be a picture of one of your cosplays.
Okay. Fun.
And so you can see, this is the talk and this is the person. And I tend to use the most sexy cosplays for that, or the most beautiful cosplays for that, because I think I got to know YouTube enough to know what gets viewers and doesn't. The old saying, "Sex sells." Sex and death sells. Actually, I'm still amazed that cemetery channels that just show views of cemeteries have hundreds of thousands of subscribers.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, and why don't cosplay people have that? How come cemeteries get so many views? It's weird. YouTube is weird until the algorithm finds out who you are and what you're good at. So I wish you luck in that. I kind of was a reluctant host to go on YouTube, and I think you would probably be great, just based on the interview so far today. But it's a lot of work, the editing and doing the screenshots. I found that all these videos get between 250, 350 views after a while.
Well, that's good.
But I started doing on-site location reports at Comic-Cons. I did 10, and I did a video at a local Comic-Con in New Bedford, Massachusetts. It was a little anime con. And I did the costume contest, and I went around interviewing the cosplayers, and it got a lot of views. And it got me more subscribers, and so I went another one recently down in Massachusetts here a few weeks ago, and shot 10 videos in 2 days at the Comic-Con, the cosplay contest, and I did several dealer spotlights of interesting dealers telling me what they do. I did a few. Of course, the cosplayers walking around. I did a cosplay spotlight on some of my favorite friends who do cosplay, and I managed to get 10 videos from it. And I don't necessarily want to do those videos, but I think I'm going to have to do those videos from now on.
That's people like behind the scenes kind of stuff.
That stuff seems to be getting more views and traction. And which, instead of having a video like this that comes out every week or so, if I have 10 or 6 videos come out, it will do as well as these videos. So
you never know what the public wants.
You just don't. I mean, I started in something completely different, and I ended up here. So you never know what works and what doesn't. Like I told you that we started a show thinking it was Elvira would host old black and white movies. And YouTube statistics showed us that nobody was watching the movies. Everybody was fast forwarding to the parts that we were doing the
Oh,
comedy.
that's reassuring, right?
So they liked us. They just didn't like the movies we were presenting, so we stopped presenting movies. And the three highest ranking videos from that time being, and this is just to tell you what YouTube likes, is when I stuck 20 daggers on her
Oh my
head,
God.
cut her head with a head chopper, and cut her in half with a rusty bow saw. And that gets 3 times, 4 times the views that these episodes got.
People like stupid
I mean,
human tricks.
yes, people. The actress used to. She does several horror podcasts, and she used to complain that the internet wants her dead.
Oh, okay.
Because those are the episodes that got the most views. And so it's kind of weird what the people out there like. It's weird. It's a learning process to determine that. What are you doing on your channel?
Oh boy. I have done a lot of unboxing of cosplays. I've done behind the scenes at photo shoots. I actually did a cooking video. I figured, why not? It's my channel. I'll put what I want up. I've only had 8 videos
I've
so
done.
far, so it's really just starting out.
I went to several supposedly haunted cemeteries of mine, and when I was on Carnival Horrors, and went to my future grave as my character
Oh wow.
Igor, because he supposedly came back from the dead. So this was the grave he was supposed to be in. And it was my actual family grave,
Oh my gosh.
actually. So, which I used in my pallbearer pics, actually, my promotional pics, have me in front of my actual tombstone. Says my last name. I got my parents involved in the cosplay. My father would think it's funny. My mother's probably going to still hunt me. But, you could try all kinds of things and see what gets traction. Because I've seen people start things as one thing and they do like you did. I mean, I'm not exactly saying this happened, but you could do a cooking video that's totally like everything else you do, and suddenly that gets more
Right?
views. You're like, what? Why?
I'm sure if I put a video of my
So
cat leaping in the sun, that'll get a zillion views.
yes, Chewbacca around here somewhere. If I had a channel that was just Chewbacca, my mini Pomeranian, it would get probably me views to my entire channel. But keep up with it. And they say don't. There's several decent people that do how to do good YouTube channel shows that are out there, and they're occasionally good to watch. Occasionally they're not because they have stupid ideas. But it takes a while. My whole 3-4 months that I did the other stuff, I had probably 300 viewing hours on 50 something videos. And suddenly now I have 3 months later, I have all Carnival cosplay content and I have like 1,600 viewing hours. So just be open to see what people like and
keep putting content up.
They keep going in that direction. Look at your YouTube stats and see if people are tuning out or tuning in, and what the age group is, because it's a thing. It's a thing. It's still amazed at how some of these channels of people watching people do video games get millions of views. I still don't understand the concept of watching other people do things. Because my generation, we would rather play video games than watch people play.
I just don't get the let's watch you play a video game for 24 hours.
Yes.
I don't get that.
Saying that, my daughter's a video game streamer, so I she's doing that right now upstairs. So, but people watch that stuff pretty amazingly. So What is your most wanted to do
Oh,
cosplay?
oh, that I can definitely answer because I have a section on my board for my dream cosplays that I want to do. Um, I have a handful, actually. One is Jaina Solo from Star Wars. Um, I keep looking at that
Okay.
going, I really need a Star Wars cosplay because I don't cosplay from Star Wars and I adore Star Wars. There's a series of science fiction books. I guess you'd call them more fantasy, more um, D&D kind of books. They're called Dragonlance.
Oh, I've read several. I've read a series or
Okay.
two of those books years
Two
ago.
characters. Larlan Talasa, the elven princess, is one of my want to very badly to do cosplays, and Gold Moon, who is the kind of native princess, is the other cosplay. And the last one is Sorceress
I
Boogeyman.
slightly remember them. I do remember them.
So those are my want tos, very badly. I have a friend who's also convinced me to cosplay the Loch Ness Monster, so I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to build that because now I'm very interested in trying to get that going.
That interests me greatly. I can't wait to see that.
I've got the ears and the wig. That's about it.
Is the
Yes,
wig
it is.
green? I've been in Scotland, but I was in a different place, and I was more around Edinburgh and
Okay.
Rosslyn.
Now, I have ancestral
Uh,
ties to
I
Scotland,
really
so I'm kind of that's what clicked me to I should do Nessie.
It was like a long bus ride to go on a tour of the Loch. I really wanted to go there, but it was just too far away for
Oh
the
yeah.
few days at the end of a business trip I had in Scotland
Hmm.
to go there. Um, and those were the days I wasn't cosplaying anyway. I did go, used to travel internationally. I wish I was cosplaying at the time because I could have gone to conventions
Mm.
around the world. But that didn't happen. I'm Now that the border's open again, I'm threatening to go to Canada once or twice because the Canadian border is like 4 hours from me. It can't be that far from you if you're in
Just
the
an hour.
Michigan area. Have you gone to any events in Canada? Not lately,
We
I
were
know that.
supposed to go to YetiCon in 2020, and well, that kind of died out. And then last year they didn't have it. And this year we're not sure if they're having it or not, but they rolled everyone over from 2020. So we're hoping that maybe we'll get to go. It's in June. We have friends in Canada who have been stuck up there not being able to come down. So we're hoping to meet up there.
Good, good. I'm expanding out of my New England base and probably going to Awesome Con in the DC area, June
Okay.
1st or 3rd. To cosplay and to do some videos to start covering that because the channel likes on location videos. I'll
Right.
do all the New England ones, and the original people who did Boston Comic Con have one coming up in April 7th, I think. They sold theirs Boston Comic Con, the Fan Expo,
Oh,
years
okay.
ago, and then they had a non-compete for a number of years, and now they're back with a new con, a new small con, one-day con called Wicked. What else would a con be called in Boston? Wicked Good Comic Con, or Wicked Comic Con is coming up, and I'm planning to go there in April and do the video thing. Luckily, I had all the video equipment because I spent a lot of money on this computer and top of the line MacBook, and I built a set at my house for Carnival of Horror. I spent like
Wow.
10 grand on equipment, and then that
Wow.
channel went away. So, well, I got stuff. I got the audio equipment, so I've been using it
Mhm.
finally on sites. So, what's coming on the YouTube channel? Anything
Oh
you want to
gosh,
do?
I've recorded so many things. Like yesterday, I was going to make dinner, and I was like, "Hey, why don't I record this? I can use it on YouTube." And my husband's like, "I'm just hungry. You don't have to record it." Um, well, I actually recorded putting on the makeup for this cosplay, so that'll be on YouTube. And of course, I recorded the unboxing of it this morning, so that'll be on YouTube. I went to CVS and I trolled all the candy aisles, so that'll be on YouTube. I've got so many ideas that I've got going.
We see. I've gone a different method. My success is doing hour-long content, and then if you get a few hundred views to an hour-long content, there's hundreds of viewing hours right there. Because viewing hours and subscribers is two of the metrics you need for
Right.
monetization.
But this is something I've
And
told
so
others.
I'm
Same for my Instagram as for YouTube or anything is I don't look at algorithms. I don't look at insights. I just put up what I want to put up. And if people like it, great. And if people don't, it's my channel and that's what that's what I want to put up.
well, okay, that's good. If you, I'm just saying, if the holy grail is monetization on YouTube, and hoping suddenly I'll get. Well, considering I got like 20, 30 viewers in my first YouTube videos, and now I'm getting hundreds and maybe 3, 4, or 500, and some of those doing evil to my old partner was about 1,000. Uh, Time seems to be the issue. The longer you do it, um, in theory, the better it gets. I mean, the more viewers, the more people find you. Um, I have found by doing video of all these cosplayers, I actually give out a card that says where I am in Carnival of Cosplay, and it has a QR code in the back so people go to the channel. So I videotape them at a show. I then give them one of the cards that says subscribe. You probably see yourself. And I think that, I mean, the cards cost me $40, but I think that is really helping because when I meet people and try to subscribe to YouTube channel, they say, "What is it?" Carnival of Cosplay. And at YouTube, there's probably other cosplay things and this and that, and having a QR code on the back of your business card
Very
that people
helpful.
go right there. And you can just, there's utilities on the net that you can make your own QR code. I think that's been a very good idea for me in the last few weeks. So you may want to think
My
about that at
husband's
some
got
point.
QR codes on his business card, so anyone that he takes pictures of at cons, he just gives them the card, and they can easily find where he's posting his pictures.
That's exactly what I'm doing. And if I go take pictures of 30, 40, 50, 100 people different at every show and give out 100 cards, then a certain amount of them come to my channel. So you do something like that for long enough, and maybe you're going to get some people. Let's look at the other cosplays you sent me. Okay. We know that. We know that. Okay, tell me about this Pippi.
Pippi Longstocking was my hero when I was growing up. I thought she was fabulous, the way she talked to adults like she could care less if they were in authority, and how she did what she wanted to do and had no one to stop her. She was strong, and she was so much fun. So I decided that I needed to cosplay Pippi. So I watched all of her movies, and I started watching the new cartoon, but I didn't like it as much. So I went back and I read the books, and then I said, all right, I've got my basis for what I'm going to do. And I found a pattern for her overdress, and I made the shirt to go with it, and then I made the stockings to go with it, and then I got a wig, and it took forever to figure out how to get the pigtails to stand straight.
I was going to ask you
There's
about
chopsticks
that.
hidden in the braids.
Oh, okay. That's a good idea. Is this blue screen or actually you in a field somewhere?
That is me and a screen.
Okay, just checking.
We have a field, but it's not that flowery. Thank you.
Nice picture.
I actually have a goth version of her. That was Cindy's idea, actually.
And of course, you're not a cosplayer unless you have
Harley. Right?
Harley somewhere, right?
I don't know why I did Harley. I mean, for me, Harley is always the white-faced jester from the animated show back in the 90s. But then I started getting more into her because of my Ivy. And then suddenly now I've got like 5 different versions of Harley.
This is the same cosplay that Rebecca of Ragdoll, and she's an interesting cosplay name. It's Ragdoll Murderer.
Okay.
It's very interesting. She was like 2 or 3 episodes ago. She's from state Connecticut, almost to New York, and she wore something like this to a con. Actually, she wore something like this to a cosplay prom that I was at in Rhode Island, and also at a I think Gamers Retro GamerCon last weekend. I saw the photos. It's pretty much the same outfit. She doesn't have the guns, but it's definitely the wig and the dress. And I prefer this or other Harley thing, anything except the normal outfit that you see everywhere. The booty shorts and the
Ah,
daddy's
Suicide
little
Squad
monster
1.
shirt.
Yes.
I know, yeah, I know a lot of people do that, but you see so much of that in life. So seeing a different version of Harley is nice occasionally. Because I mean, for a while there, you couldn't go to a con and see like
Right?
40 Harley Quinns walking around in groups. And I mean, sort of like there was Princess Leia, Bikini Leia for a while at Comic Con.
Right.
You had a lot of
Mm-hmm.
Bikini Leias too,
Still do.
and
They still do.
what was that? Yeah, that's true. Not as much. Well, maybe slight versions. I've seen even seen slight versions of that. Uh, I think we have just one more.
That is Ken
What is
Kaneki from
this?
Tokyo Ghoul.
I don't. Okay, that's why I don't recognize it. I have no idea what this
Um,
is.
he is a human who, through a very unfortunate incident, has become a ghoul, which is a different type of life form that lives in Tokyo, and they eat human flesh, but he fights himself about whether he is a ghoul or not. And this is the tortured version of him, where he,
You don't eat
well,
bad
the
humans.
good ghouls actually just harvest dead bodies instead of killing people. So this,
Okay. Well, usually ghouls feed on human flesh throughout the
right.
supernatural fandom in different places. It's a good-looking ghoul, though. Usually ghouls are a little bit scarier, but I'm sure this is appropriate to the original source. I'm just saying that, in my version, when I think of ghoul, I think of someone a little bit more beat up than this. But again, I
Well,
don't
he's
know
been
the source
tortured for
material.
endless days in this version. That's why he's got the manacle around his wrist, and he looks very gaunt.
Yeah, it does. So
Yes.
the viewers want to know, how many wigs do you own?
That is a very good question. I've been asked that many times. Uh,
Have you counted?
Not yet, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 5 IKEA bins, and each of them holds more than 20 wigs. And then I've got a Rubbermaid of wigs for cosplays that I haven't shot yet. So I would say I've got at least 125 wigs.
Well, you said you had over 150 cosplays,
Oh
and
yeah,
so most of
but
them use
the
wigs,
same
right?
wig that I used for Poison Ivy is the same wig that I used for Jean Grey, that I used for Batgirl. So I try to reuse as much as possible.
Okay, okay, that makes sense. Um, Tell me about the start of how you started over Foley Cosplay.
Okay. Well, I'd been cosplaying for, gosh, at that point in time, I was maybe 17 years into regular cosplay by then. And my husband and I would go to different cons. And, as a photographer, he'd be going around taking pictures. And both he and I would notice that people who were older but who had worked really hard on their cosplays or looked absolutely wonderful in their cosplays were getting absolutely no attention from anyone, especially from other photographers. It was all going to tiny little girls in very skimpy clothes with a wig on, and it it
Funny
really
how that
just
is.
started bugging me. And I finally crossed the line when we went to a con in Ohio, and I brought a bunch of cosplays that I'd worked on really hard, and I knew that they were good. And the fans told me that they loved them because I love going to the fandom meetups, and I had great review from them. But the con photographers just totally ignored me, and there was even a group that pulled me into their pictures. And then they told me later that when they got their pictures back, none of the pictures with me in them were in their bunch. And they were really upset about that. And I was just like, that's ridiculous, because people who are 40 and over, we actually have the money to put into our cosplays, into buying pictures. We have chosen this hobby. It's not just like let's go and dress up and go. And we actually put the time and the effort into our hobby of choice, and we're just getting absolutely negative feedback or no feedback. So I said, let's deal with this. And so we looked around on Instagram. There was nothing for anyone of our age. We looked around on Facebook, and there was a group that was just more of a communications group, just chatting back and forth, but nothing that featured a cosplayer who was 40 and up.
When was
This was
originally?
2019.
What year was this?
So then we said, all right. So we filed for the state of Michigan. We filed our name, so we were officially a business, and we started Cosplay Over 40. And the first few weeks, it was the hardest time for me, because I'd look at the people I was following and tentatively say, by any chance, are you over 40? If not, I'm really sorry. But if you are, can we feature you? And from there, we just passed 500 different cosplayers that we have featured. And we've, well,
I don't even know how many times I've been featured. I don't even remember what outfits
I
I've
could
put
tell you,
into
if you
you
gave me a
guys.
moment, I could
4 or
look it
5
up in our
times.
spreadsheet.
I'm certainly but I would feel the same way that I'd say 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, when I started doing more of the cosplay on my off show weekends, that I couldn't get a photo of me going to a con, even if I was looking to pay for it. It was just like the
Right?
photographers weren't even
It's
interested.
sad.
Until I found a few different photographers that one of them is Nerd Caliber. They do an online magazine. I
Okay.
do a lot of coverage at cons out here. Rodney Brown, he's good. I have another friend, Brian Williams, that does a lot of good work. And a guy that did a lot of my, he doesn't do cons anymore, but he did green screen, and he would
Okay.
do great edits for the background. And I had like 10. I went to a cosplay expo, and that was his first time he was there, and I ended up having him doing 10 different characters. Uh, I still got to go to his actual studio and do a bunch of characters I've done since then, but I just started doing my own. My daughter's a photographer, so I anytime there's a cosplay to be done, I have the older photos that my friend used to do, but my daughter
Right.
shot all the recent cosplays that I've done. I mean, possibly in our yard or on our property, because I have a lot of different
Right. Good.
backgrounds that I can use, or even theater curtains. This room here has a whole wall of theater curtains that cover one of the exits and entrances in the walls, and I have blue screen here as well. So we do that, but it's true that except
Mhm.
for certain characters, uh, this character gets decent reaction at shows. When I walk around with the hoverboard and the dog, uh, I usually will get photos at a con
Right.
or from Paul Bearer. Paul Bearer is just people, if they know who he is, they're like, oh my God. And I get a lot of pictures taken. Uh, but there's a lot of cosplays that, unless you were at a appropriate convention for the character, like Paul Bearer at a wrestling convention or a certain Doctor Who character at a Doctor Who convention, uh, that's that cosplay right there, for example, is a cosplay from one episode of Doctor Who run by one of the ex James Bonds. Uh, as Sir Rassilon. That one has been on your service. I just know what it is with. I think even today, I don't think. I don't think the older cosplayers, unless they meet certain people they've worked with before, I think it's still a thing to get
Right.
other people
Hmm.
interested in your cosplay. If unless it's really tremendous or there's something to it, like I occasionally do walk around a convention with this character. You know, the dog in one hand, the hoverboard in the other. This is actually screen used from the actual movie, Back to the Future 2. But occasionally I have my live dog, and I put my live dog right here and walk around with him. And he's learned to just perch there as I walk around. And you
Right.
can't not get pictures of that. um, but so I think you're doing a good
Thank you.
service
There's
to us
not a
older
week goes
people.
by that we don't hear from at least one
Uh,
person telling us their negative experience and how happy they are that we do this. It's just so sad, but I'm happy that we give some of our age people a place that they know is safe for them and that where they can enjoy the other people's cosplays of the same, the same age group.
well, I agree. I agree. Um, People of my age group, which I refuse to say in the your profiles as well, I just say old. The
40 plus.
older than 40. Yes, the when I was young, the
Mm-hmm.
word nerd was a hate speech, and so there's not a lot of nerd women in my age group. Let's say so. I found people. Of course, the whole other story. I do a whole comedy act at open mic nights about dating my age, because dating at my age is
Ah.
insane. It's not fun. It's weird. So I use my cosplay photos on my dating pages to scare away the normal people. Thinking if they respond, okay, they know I'm gonna, they know I occasionally do this,
Good
and
for
they still
them.
respond. Okay, I might go and
That's the
have
first
go out to
test.
breakfast with you. What's your favorite
Ooh,
fandom
tie between Star Trek and
you like to watch?
Dragon Ball. Probably Star Trek.
Okay, I would have to say
Yeah, my
I had to
mom
buy
threw
a new
away
one.
my old comic books, and I was like,
She
"No,
was
why did you do that?"
God. You could buy a new house with that today. Uh, Especially the old comic books. So what's any future plans coming up? Do you have anything you want to plug, or are you going to any
Well,
specific
gosh.
cons?
Specific cons. We're looking at going to Motor City Comic Con here in Detroit in May, and we're going to hopefully go to Colossal Con in Ohio in June, and YomaCon and Grand Rapids Comic Con in the fall. Other than that, we're really not sure. This summer, I am doing a semi cross country drive, and I'm trying to meet up with as many 40 plus cosplayers as possible. I know I've got a group in Oklahoma City that's waiting for me, and I've got some people in Utah who are trying to persuade me to not go straight down, but head over to Salt Lake City and then go down so that we can meet up.
Well, you always get Cindy in
Cindy, yeah,
San
well,
Francisco area,
not
right?
going that far west. I've got a lot of Californians going, hey, New Mexico is just a few states away, but it's just like, yeah, no, we've got to, no, we're bringing a car out to my son who's out in New Mexico. So we've actually got a point in time we have to be at a certain place.
I'm familiar with that concept, having a son who moved to California not too long ago, uh, who lives near Disneyland, luckily. So I've got free hotels if I ever want to go to a free place to stay if I ever want to go to California or
That's good.
cons in the Orange County area. Uh, I'm a Disney nut as well, as I've discussed at several other episodes here of other Disney nuts that I know. Um, One of the
Oh,
nice things
yeah.
is the Halloween party at Disney every year, uh, that you can actually cosplay at and wear costumes because they let you. It's the only time people our age can wear costumes at Disney. So we can't do a mask or anything, but I think I was Indiana Jones the 2 years I went to that. I want to go to the one in Disneyland, but the tickets are hard to get. My son's a pass holder this year, so I'm hoping he can grab a ticket before they're released to the general public. And so I'll go to Anaheim to go to. I think that Halloween party is better. But that's an interesting
Oh
thing of
yeah. No, I used
combining
to do a lot of
Disney
the
and
Run Disney
costumes.
events
So,
until the pandemic, and I'm hoping to get back to them next year. But I always ran in costume.
okay. Yeah, they had virtual for a while, didn't they? I think this year was one of the first years
I
they had
think,
actually
yeah, I
had it.
know that there was a Princess Run this year. So
And
right.
then it was actually real instead of virtual because they were doing run virtually. It's like it's not the same.
No, I used to have a medal. Well, I still
It's
have the
not the
medal rack. It
same.
was
Like going to
just
virtual con.
it's shaped like Cinderella's castle, and it was all for all of my Run Disney medals. And I didn't have a place for it in my office, so it's just
Tell
like
people
packed
how to
up
get
right
to
now.
YouTube.
My
Tell
YouTube
people how to
channel,
get to YouTube channel.
it doesn't have a designation yet because it's got one of those like mixed letter things. But if you look for AMH
Yeah.
cosplays, it's me on YouTube and on Facebook and on Twitter and on Instagram. Pretty much all my social is just AMH cosplays.
I've got a webpage, carnivalofcosplay.com, and anytime I post a new video, they can get to it via the webpage. I found it's much easier to say carnivalofcosplay.com always has the latest episode. The fact it has all the episodes, and he's have a listing of all the location reports, and they're just embedded links to YouTube. So it's just an easier way for people to find the YouTube channel because I haven't got one either. I think mine even has blah 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 new at the end of it. But I've been using the web page to get there, so it makes it much easier. Before I give the cards, but I still
Great.
this episode will be on Carnival Cosplay. Probably next week, which would be anything else you want to mention?
I think we've pretty much touched all the bases from everything from over 40 to my ridiculously OCD ways of keeping track of everything.
I noticed that months ago. Okay, well, I'd like to thank you
No, thank you
for
for having me.
Anna for coming today.